friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be diving into another fantastic machine on the Vulnhub, which is CyBox. The link will be put in the description section below so that you can download and play on your own. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. I'd take this opportunity to showcase some new techniques. For example, we need to use Null Byte to terminate strings to perform local file inclusion vulnerability. Also, I'd like to use fuzzing tool and also the Python to enumerate subdomains. So there will be a lot to take in this video. Now we can head over to Kali Linux to begin with. First of all, we need to discover the IP address of the target. The utility I'd like to use, as always, would be netdiscover. Let's launch. As you can see here, the IP address of the target machine could be recognized as 229. So what shall we do next? We need to perform port and self-scanning with a map. To save time of this video, I've already completed before. So now we can get out its result. Let's scrub up a bit. As you can see over here, I took the options like scene scan, the default script scan, the version scan, the full range port scan, and the last option for all is ON to output the result into this file. Although the IP address has been changed since I re-imported the target machine into the VirtualBox. So different IP address has been assigned by internal DHCP server of VirtualBox this time. But this doesn't affect our application. From the map scanning results, we can tell that the target has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 open ports in total. Let's take a look at them one by one. The first one is, this is closed. I think there should be 6 open ports. The first one is 21, which is running FTP service. But, with the SC option, we can tell that the target doesn't allow anonymous login. And also the version information. The next one, 25, which is running SMTP service or protocol, simple mail transfer protocol. And also the version information, okay? And the next one is 80, which is running HTTP service and also the version information, Apache 2. And, there's some modules, SSL module. So maybe, such module is vulnerable. And the next one is 110, which is running POP3. And similarly, 143, which is running another mail receiving protocol, IMAP. But, initially we cannot do very much for service like SMTP service or POP3 and IMAP service because we didn't get its version number. Okay, and the next one is 443. And from the title, maybe, this port number, both 443 and 80 are running the same application. So, and also this one, we can get the possible host name. Okay, but before we go ahead, let me note down some key discoveries. The IP address should be 229 and some open ports. Okay. So what are we going to do next? I think we can start with FTP service. We can check whether this version is vulnerable or not. Although here there is one exploit, but this one is denial of service, which is not what we want at this point. We want to penetrate into the machine rather than break it down, right? And so now let's have a look at the port number 80. So we can fire up the browser to perform manual enumeration first. Press enter and think CyBox. I think this site is beautiful. And at the bottom we find this information, username and domain name. Also earlier from the map scanning results, we have already know that this should be host name. Okay, so now maybe later we can append this entry, or this entry is mapping between IP address and domain name. But before we do that, I'd like to complete our manual enumeration first. Okay, our services, but this is just some kind of internal link, and we can check its source code. Scroll down. We cannot find anything interesting from the source code. Next, robots file. Not found. Next, we can launch the Nicto to perform automatic enumeration. In the meantime, and I'd like to launch the GoBuster to perform directory enumeration to save time. Okay. Press enter. Let's go back to the first tab, and a lot of output by Nicto. But although the target is running, this module and this module, but just a bit outdated. It's not vulnerable, and also allowed HTTP methods. But all methods are safe to some extent at this point. Okay, it's done. Let's switch to this tab, and we find this PHP my admin. Maybe we can copy and put over here. We can access this directory, but for security reasons, this address is inaccessible using localhost. Okay, we cannot do anything for this directory or application. Okay, I'm not going to wait. I'd like to stop the GoBuster because we cannot get anything back. Anything else. So now it's time to append the IP address and domain name to the host file. Okay, IP address of the target machine, and then the domain name we can copy, paste it over here, single quote, pipe operator sudo t command with option of a option or append. It's done. If you want, you can make the directory enumeration with GoBuster again. Sometimes the applications are different when we access a target machine by domain name or by IP address, but I'm not going to do that because we will get the same result. For example, we can CyBox.company, nothing different. Okay, you know what I mean already. So now what can we do next? So far we have already done almost everything what we can so far. And how to do next? I think we can check whether we can enumerate the subdomain. And how to do? We can use different kinds of tools like GoBuster, but I prefer to use this one, fuzzing tool, wfuzz, and the option of H, so host, fuzz, and CyBox.company. Okay, and the URL should be CyBox.company. And also we need to specify the word list. You can use dedicated subdomain word list, but I always use this one, debuster, directory, medium, and let's press enter. Okay, a lot of output. So this means we need to put the filter. You can use different filter, but I always use this filter, the numbers of words. Okay, press enter. The first few lines are some kind of a comment we can ignore. And this tool has already discovered a register, FTP, dev, webmail, monitor. Fantastic. Okay, so I'd like to stop this enumeration process. And before we, of course, next we need to append the subdomain to the host file as well. But before we go ahead, I'd like to use Python to write our own program to perform directory enumeration. Okay, let me bring up the editor of PyCharm, and we can right-click on this folder, what we are working with, and new Python file. We can call it like enumerate subdomain. Okay, how to do? We can open, I'd like to show you the quickest way. And we can open, right-click, and go to Inspect, and navigate to Network tab, and we can refresh the page, and then we can copy this value as Q command, and we can go to this website to convert Q to Python, and we can copy this Python code to clipboard. Okay, now we can paste over here, and I do not want this code to be complicated. I just want this code to perform enumeration. Okay, save our time. Okay, so how to do? I'd like to import the module, sys module, and next I'd like to import the time module. I want to introduce delay between different requests. Afterwards, we will send different requests to the target machine one by one. If you send too many requests, sometimes the application will be dead. We do not want this happen. Okay, so how to do? And we can define the function like send request. We can take one argument. We can call it word. Let me indent this block, and I think these are not, this is some kinds of fields of request header, but they are not necessary. And also I'd like to add the host field because we want to perform directory enumeration. Here I use formatted string. Okay, and cybox.company and Word. So I think I'd like to add one more blank line to make PyCharm happy. And next, we can print the length of response content. We want to know how the application responds when we submit non-existent subdomain name, and how the application responds when we submit existent subdomain name. Okay, so I think the major, the possible way to differentiate those valid requests and invalid requests would be length of content of response. Okay, and so I'd like to open I can get the path of the word list, the master directory. Okay, we can copy this absolute path and put over here with read only mode as F, and then we can for line in read lines method. This method, we'll get all lines from the file, and then we can use for loop to iterate over these collections of lines. Okay, next I think we can Word. We want to strip the space in the end of each line. Also, I think we can have if statement to check whether the line starts with pound or hashtag, because that line or those line indicate comment. So line starts we do not need to do anything, so we can use statement of continue, and this will not will not execute the next line. Will start over the next from the next word in this collection. Okay, so now we can call if. I think now before we go ahead, I'd like to run this program. Send request Word. Let me run this program. In run, press enter. Okay, so I think in most cases, the word or the subdomain name we submit to the application would be invalid. So this should be the length of invalid response. We can copy, and then we can use this as condition to differentiate a valid request or valid subdomain name and invalid subdomain name. Okay, so we can if length of response content doesn't equal to this one, it means it's valid subdomain name, and we can return true. And also this line is unnecessary. We can comment out this line. If so, then we can check the result of or return the value of this function to see whether it's true or not, or none. Okay, So if true, maybe we can otherwise return false. Okay. And then we can print subdomain name found. Okay, word. And also we can put try and except. So when we want to exit or stop the program, we will press Control and C, and the program should exit. Except keyboard interrupt, and then we can print something like exiting the program and cease exit. Okay, so I think that's all. That's all we need to do. Now we can bring up the terminal window to run our program. Yeah, found domain name register ftp dev. So I think we can get the same result as fuzzing 2. But anyway, I have already shown you how to use Python for our purpose to enumerate subdomain. Okay, so next we need to append such subdomain name to the host file. Okay, we can echo and we can put register next ftp next webmail. Oh, I think I did the wrong thing. The webmail and the monitor, and then FTP, and then dev. Okay, so register. Let me confirm by open this host file with Vim editor. So I think this line is wrong. And okay, so I think it's correct now. We need to enumerate these new subdomains beside this main domain. We can copy and put over here. Okay, so let me access the first subdomain register to see what it's about. We can use this subdomain to create users. Interesting, for example, like a JSON and create. So this user has been created successfully. The credentials are JSON and column JSON. You should change your default password for security. Interesting. So we can copy. So register. We create new user, and this should be email, right? Now we can have a look at the second subdomain, webmail. We can use webmail. This is squirrel mail. And also we can get its version. So next, I think we need to check whether this version is vulnerable or not. And we can copy its version number, 1.4.22. This one, I don't think the version matches this exploit. So I think this version is not vulnerable. And we can try to log in with default password admin and admin login. Great, I think it's working. It's not. Unknown user or password incorrect. All right, we can put this webmail one side for a while. Let's move on to the second one. So how about this one? We can use JSON to log in. I don't know. JSON login. It does work. So great, but I don't think I can exploit this application. Okay, so let's sign out. Now, so how about, and this one we can log in, no problem. Now monitor, so we can copy and access. So this is the monitor. So monitor is application, search monitor, but it's not. Okay. So next, so email. So I think we can log in with credentials, what we have already created earlier, right? Like JSON and CyBox. Maybe we can copy from here, from notebook. And password is JSON login. But this is no account found with that email. Maybe this application takes different mechanism to manage users. However, here we can register user. For example, maybe we can call it like a JSON, and the email is JSON, and the password 123456. 123456. Register. And I think it's correct. So this should be email, password 123456. Now we can log in with this user. And 123456. Login. Entry. The no records. Entry. Departure. Updated. We cannot do very much with this application, although we can log in. And here we can notice another link, forgot password. Maybe later we need to check this to see whether this function is vulnerable or not. Anyway, now we can copy this one. Now we can take a look at FTP surface, ftp.cybox.company. And so this is net to FTP, a web-based FTP client. So this one is vulnerable or not? search net ftp. But at this moment, we do not have its version. And if you want, you can check with anonymous user, name anonymous. And we can copy his IP address and any password. Login Intel test.com. So unable to log in to this server. Let's go back, and also basic SSH collection or login, but I don't think now we have such credentials. Let's move on. Nothing here. Next, dev. Interesting. Dev, in most cases, especially CTF machines, we can get something important from dev subdomain. Dev CyboX.company. But only one file, phpinfo. So we can get its version and configure. Loaded configuration file. So I think this is not in the default location. Some configurations with PHP. So host, server name. We found this one, OPT, Apache 2. We can copy and paste over here, because this is not living in the default location. So how can we do next? I think the vector should lie in this one. Let's click, and we can, for example, we can try to use, because this is user what we've created earlier. We can try to send a link. The link has been sent to the email. So now we can go to the web application or webmail application. So JSON CyboX.company and password. So this password should be JSON as well. Login. Error. So the web application, JSON and JSON. So I think note taking is very good practice for when we conduct penetration, because there are so many things to be, remembered. And we can log in. And I think we have already got its mail from the monitor application. And here, we can, hello user, here is the link to update your password. So I think the vulnerability lies in this one. We can manipulate this one with admin, because earlier we have already found the admin username. And to do that, I'd like to turn on the proxy and launch Burp Suite. Go next, start Burp Suite. Turn on intercept option, and we can click, and then you can get, I think we can send the request to repeater module, and then we can try to, change the username JSON, the current user name, to admin, and then we can, or maybe we just forward. Okay. Forward. Now we are prompted by this update passwords box or window. Maybe we can turn off the intercept option. We can set a new password for the user admin. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 1 2 3 4 5 6. We can update. So now we can log in with admin CyBox.company. Password is 123456. Login. Now, besides entry and departure, we find admin panel. Fantastic. Unfortunately, this admin panel is under construction. Don't worry, we can check its source code. And here we find this address we can copy because the pattern itself is a bit suspicious. So we can, maybe this one exists local file inclusion vulnerability. So how to do that? We can copy and put over in the end, and we can try to access password file, but nothing come back. So how about we put some pass traversal. Let's press enter, but we still cannot get anything back. If you give up here, you are wrong. Actually, you need to check some payloads for the local file inclusion vulnerability. And also just now, we have already found the version of the PHP. And, below this version 5.3.4, we can use the Null Byte to terminate string, because this one is using the C style way to terminate. Okay, so how to do? We can go back the browser. We can put the % and 00. This can terminate this string. We can press enter, and this time we can get what we expect. As usual, we can check its source code, and here we find the admin. Of course, I think this one is not what we want. This just, this is my name. And so it means that when we run create, when we access this subdomain, the register, in the machine will create the user with the same username correspondingly. Okay, so however, we can get to know the CyBox. We can copy. So this is the username. Next, we need to manipulate or exploit this vulnerability. So how to do? We can check whether we can access the private key of this user. Home CyBox. But nothing back from the target. Next, we need to check to see whether we can access the authentication log file. Okay, log. Press enter. but we didn't get anything back. Next, we need to check whether we can access Apache 2 access log. However, by default, the such log file would be under var log Apache 2 and access log, right? This time is different. We have already found this path from the phpinfo. Okay, so now we can copy, put over here. Okay, and should be logs and access log. Press enter. As you can see, we of course here you should use underscore. Okay, now we got something back, and if you can reach this point, I think you should know what we need to do next. We need to poison this log file, and I think the many applications, right? And also I think we can check the anonymous, the FTP, so the FTP. So I think we need to, access or manipulate the FTP subdomain. Okay, so how to do? Let me, this one. And also I'd like to turn on the intercept option. Let's refresh. But this time we need to change this user agent. We can put PHP system $get square bracket cmd, another square bracket, parentheses, and angle break bracket. So now we can, I need to make a double check. So system cmd I think we can go with this new, go or forward this request with new or malicious user agent. We can forward. Now let's go back to monitor, the vulnerable application. Here I'd like to pass the argument cmd and run id. Oh, I need to turn off the intercept option. So, okay, I think the command has been executed as we expected. So next we need to, we try to get share on the target. And how to do? We can set up the listener on the canonics first, waiting for collection from the target. Now we can try to run the netcat. Netcat is there. So how about to use netcat to get reverse shell? But not working. Sometimes we need to change the port number, right? And 443 is a very safe port number, but not working. So let me bring some more reverse commands from the Pentest monkey website. For example, this one we can copy and paste over here, and we can copy IP address of the canonics and to replace this one, and 443 we can copy, and also I'd like to use this way. Press enter, but it's not working. So next, I think we can try this one. We can copy. As pen tester, we need to, to be very patient. We can copy and put over here, press enter, not working. So how about Python? We can check to see whether Python is available on the target machine. Which Python? So Python is there, great. So now I'd like to use another PHP reversal command. And so I can copy and 443. We can copy. Press enter. So I think it's working now. Fantastic. As you can see, we indeed have already got the shell on the target. Although it's not good, we can use Python to spawn interactive shell. Okay, spawn. Now, also I'd like to define environment variable term. Then we can clear screen whenever to get a bigger space on the window. Next, we need to gather information of the target machine. Next, we can go to home directory and CyBox. And we can grab the user flag. And next, we can try to run sudo. Okay. So next, I'd like to run find. So here, I use this command to find any binary with SUID bit. I think I found this one, OPT register launcher. We can go to apt. So this one, register launcher. We can run it, register launcher. Maybe copy and paste is better. Oh, username. What's going on? So it means that we need to pass username as argument to this binary. So file. This is 32-bit binary. And also above this binary, we find the register. So maybe these two files have some collections. Now we can cut out this register. Actually, this is the shell script. Okay, so here, this is position argument, username. So if we do not specify username, and then we print out this message. Yeah, we know this. And then if user, this is, I think, some kinds of a regular expression. We need to pass valid characters as starting character, okay? But this doesn't matter. and then we'll run ID. If we put the username which has already exist, and then we'll print out this message, and then we'll cut out the group. It means that whatever username, of course, none of above conditions, and we'll add this we'll generate the group with the same name, and then we'll user add. Also use this, the password should be the same as the username. Interesting. And we'll create the directory. Okay, so I think we have really gone through the, this code. I must admit this is a bit tricky. So I think we, as you know, one of privileged group in the Linux is sudo. So I think we can create the username, of sudo, and this script will put this username to the sudo group. Of course, they're different, but it means that we create the user with username sudo, and this, this register launcher will put this created user, the user which username is sudo, to the sudo group. Okay, so now how to do? We can, if we can know this point, we can exploit it easily. We can create the user, and the username is sudo. Okay, has been created successfully, and the credentials are sudo. Okay, so now we can switch to the user. Username is sudo, and username, the password is sudo as well. Now we have really become a new user. So next time, of course, this case sudo is the command rather than username. We can run sudo bash. Now we have already become root user. Great, right? Beautiful. Then we can grab the root flag without any difficulty. So I think that's pretty much it. I'd like to see you next. Bye. Have a good day.